Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I want to start a little bit of dialogue and discussion about Drednaw. Now, one thing I do think about this game is that, with it being a 10-minute game, and I've kind of talked about this in the past, it feels like the game has become a little scripted. You go into each match, you know the timing for things, you know when your camps are going to be up and what experience you need to be going for. And me as a jungler, I know which lane I want to go after whenever I kind of look at the field for a second. And ultimately we end up going through this generalized outline for the game, and that's totally not a problem. But I want to talk about whether or not that outline or that timing or that pacing for the game could be improved. So in regards to Drednaw, I actually think that, ironically enough, even though the game is sometimes won or lost surrounding Zapdos, in my personal opinion, I think that Drednaw is the biggest objective, especially first Drednaw, of course. The biggest objective in the game. You really need to pay attention to how you play it. You have to consider the ability of, or the option of 5-man rushing it and forcing the fight, or forcing Drednaw of 4-man bottom and leaving one person top to soak and to get experience and to farm the wild Pokemon there and get some scores. There's definitely a lot going on in this period of the game, which happens if just a fresh reminder, Drednaw does spawn at 7 minutes. And I've been thinking a lot about it. I've been thinking a lot about the experience swing and the way that every game goes when you get Drednaw and the way that games go when you don't get Drednaw. So let's go into a bit of an anecdote here. In most of my games, let's set up two hypotheticals. In most of my games, when I get Drednaw, the game gets incredibly fast-paced. It gets incredibly easy throughout the midsection of the game. We just got an experience lead, we killed Drednaw, and this is kind of like what the script calls for. We've rotated down to bottom, we kill Drednaw, we knock out the first goal in bottom lane if it hasn't been gone already, and then we proceed to farm our way towards top lane, take Rotom, and we'll rinse and repeat. In this stage of the game, with the experience spike that we get, there's anywhere between 1 to maybe 3 ultimates up on my team at the time. We usually will have anywhere between a 1 and 2 level lead over my enemies, and we will, like I said, proceed to kind of stomp from bottom lane to top lane. We'll take the first couple of goals, most likely this is how it goes, and then we'll peel back and farm our side of the map, and we'll essentially rinse and repeat when the second Drednaw is up. Now, there's definitely an opportunity for them to come back, but that is the generalized early outline. When I'm on the other side of that, it's essentially what you would imagine. We lose first Drednaw, they pretty much will steamroll the bottom lane. If you're still down there, you're gonna get dove and you're gonna die. So you're forced to give up your first goal, you're forced to retreat back into your jungle. Now you have a question of, well, can we even contest Rotom? Is it even worth trying to contest Rotom? Because when we go up there, they probably have 1 to 3 ultimates. If we aren't strong enough feeling, if we're not coordinated and fast enough, we're probably going to lose first goal, and if we stay there, we're going to get dove. So that's essentially how it goes. And then for the rest of the game, because of the experience lead, you really are put in a position for the remaining 6 minutes or so. Let's say it takes a minute around Drednaw, maybe even longer. The remaining 5 or 6 minutes, it really feels like you're just farming and trying to catch up and, doing all the things you have to do in order to be strong enough in the end game that you can actually contest them and look for an opportunity to win. So, in my opinion, with this pacing set out this way and the way that Drednaw works in the game, it feels as though Drednaw is the true biggest objective in the game, and Zapdos is the objective in the game that you use to close out or finish the game, whether it be doing it or defending it or 50-50ing it and hoping for a win, and just doing whatever you can to control that final bit of the game. But the real game is winning the first Drednaw. So what do I think about that? Well, honestly, I think it's a little bit too snowbally. I think that if I was to be on the losing side of Drednaw every single game, and there are some streaks of games where it really does feel like I'm always playing from behind, it gets incredibly frustrating when you contrast that to how it feels when you're in the lead, when you are just kind of steamrolling, run around the map wherever you want, and it's just a very, very hard game to deal with, albeit a very winnable game in most situations. So I've been thinking about that a lot and what I would like to see done about it. And so I have a couple of ideas, and I would love to hear your thoughts, because anytime you think about objective ideas and changing the game fundamentally, you have to realize that there's probably a lot of different ideas that will work, but this is kind of what's in my head right now that I think that would be worth discussing. So we could, first and foremost, I think that seeing an experience drop for the reward of getting Drednaw could be very interesting. I think right now I really couldn't tell you how much of an experience gain it is, but it feels like it's almost a level. I don't think it's a full level because you don't really like literally level up most of the time, but it feels really close to like a full level, maybe 3/4 of a level, something pretty substantial, to the point where if you already had any kind of a lead, you're definitely pushing yourself higher, but either way you're getting your team a much bigger advantage in terms of experience. So, and it's global, so you give it for your whole team, not just anybody that's around or whoever physically killed it. And you also get a shield, of course. The shield, I actually don't mind the shield. I think I haven't really felt like it's super impactful, but obviously it helps. My only thought with the shield is like maybe the shield could have like a timer on it. Like it just seems to kind of linger there forever, and that feels a little bit weird, which, I mean, it is a buff, but maybe I would like to see some kind of a different buff. If they wanted it to be like a longer running thing, maybe they could have like, I don't know, more move speed for like a minute after getting Drednaw or something. But I don't know, having like a long lasting shield is it seems a little strong to me, even though I can't really tell how strong the shield is, but just in theory it seems a little strong. But if you were to lower that experience, I think that it could change the game in an interesting way. It would make it to where your team doesn't quite steamroll over them as much. It could make it to where there is an opportunity for them to actually farm and contest the second Drednaw, or to farm and contest the Rotom in top lane. So it would essentially not make it to where the first team that gets Drednaw, 3 minutes into the game or 4 minutes into the game has free reign over the rest of the mid game. Another idea that you could potentially do, either with or without the first idea of nerfing the experience gain, is to push back the spawn of Drednaw. This one is really interesting to me. I think about Drednaw spawning at, say, 5 minutes into the game, and if Drednaw was to spawn at 5 minutes of the game, that would essentially almost double the amount of time that you have for being in lane and farming and making decisions pre-Drednaw fight. This would be really interesting to me because as a jungler, I feel like that would give me more freedom to, revisit a lane or gank a different lane, or to prioritize counter jungling. This would open up the door for a lot more decision making in terms of what I want to do when I spend my time in the game. And as for laning, depending on the timers, and maybe those could be adjusted if necessary. Now we're getting a little bit deep here in the discussion, but as a laner, this would give you more time in lane. This would give you more freedom to potentially roam out of lane, like have your support roam up or look for a gank, or have your team full rotate early to try to knock out a goal before the 5 minutes. So it would be really, really interesting to see what kind of freedom that extra couple minutes before the first Drednaw would be able to get the team. And then also it would put the Drednaw in a position where the second Drednaw wouldn't be as guaranteed for the team that got the first, because it would be much later in the game. You would have to kind of be thinking about the Zapdos debuff. You'd have to be thinking about whether or not it's worth taking the risk to go for Drednaw before Zapdos spawns and to trying to take that fight, or potentially baiting yourselves or your enemies into using ultimates before Zapdos spawns. And I think that it could be a really, really interesting idea. So as of right now, I really just think that, to kind of summarize, that Drednaw is very, very strong. You see a lot of Snowball happening whenever a team gets it. They tend to get Rotom, they tend to get second Drednaw, they tend to get second Rotom, they tend to stomp around through the jungle and through the middle of the map, and I think that it kind of puts gameplay in a very, like I said, a very scripted kind of position. if I could change some things, I definitely think that I would love to see the experience gain nerfed a little bit, and then maybe even have Drednaw pushed back to spawn at 5 minutes. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to know how y'all feel about Drednaw and just the balance around it. I know that this isn't something that feels like it gets talked about too much. It doesn't feel like we're discussing the effects of Drednaw being such an experience swing early over, say, the fact that we end up kind of getting forced into our side of the map to farm the rest of the game to try just to steal Zapdos, and that often gets talked about seeing changes. So like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would definitely love to see it, to start some dialogue, to reply back. As always, friends, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.